But we're going to start off with an audience survey today. An audience survey. It's going to be a little interactive. I'm going to ask you a question if you have noticed a pattern in your life. Last time we talked about patterns. We talked about a lot of patterns that Hollywood and Satan is constantly using to... And once you see the patterns, you'll remember, hey, wait a minute, I've seen that. And it makes it a lot more clear when it's brought to our attention. But I'm going to show you a pattern that many of you have probably seen in your everyday life. And if you have noticed that this pattern is coming up in your life, I want you to just raise your hand and hold it up there for a second. This is part research, because I want to see how prevalent this is. So just hold up for a second. If you kind of notice that it's becoming a repeating pattern a little bit in your life, kind of just, But if you notice, I've definitely seen that pattern and it's freaking me out, then raise your hand good and high. Okay? Let's look at the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. Has anybody seen that pattern in their life repeating, coming up? Just hold it up there for a second so everyone can see. Every time you look at a clock, you just happen to look up at the clock and what you're doing, and you notice 1, 2, 3, 4. A good number of you have noticed that pattern. Curious? Let me show you one more pattern, and again, raise your hand depending on how you have noticed it. 9, 1, 1. Probably about 75% of people here. Your attention has been drawn to time, and that you need to pay attention to time. We'll talk about the significance of the 911 later. Has anyone also noticed single digits, such as 222, 333, 444? Again, probably about 50%. You notice a strange pattern and it's caught your attention. Someone is trying to get our attention to time. And we'll talk about that. This one, 911, appears to be the most prevalent that people notice. So we'll talk about that later. Now, I told you last time I'm going to show you some evidences of time change. So we've looked at the technology, the history, some patterns, and how the people who it looks like is going to make it happen. So then we should be able to, with proper investigation, be able to say, well, there should be some evidence of them testing this technology, right? Makes sense. The problem with that, though, is if I went back in time and changed time, everything from that point would be changed. There would be no physical evidence in my present time that there was anything different. Does that make sense? So, we'd have to look for evidence that is outside of time. What is outside of time that we can reference? Your memories. Our memories are not in this dimension. Our memories are not stuck in this silly putty stuff. When we go to heaven, we are going to have the sharpest memory we ever had of our life, because we're going to give an account of it all. Our memories go even into eternity. The Apostle John was taken to heaven to record what he saw. He came back and wrote it down. Our memories go beyond this world. They're not stuck by time. So if I want to demonstrate that time has been changed, I have to pull it from your memory. Something that you remember is absolutely true, and you remember being this way, and you'd almost sign an affidavit to it that it was this way, but now it's not, and history shows that it never existed that way. But you absolutely know that it was that way. So are you ready for a quick test? We'll try to make this quick. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull straight from your memory. You are going to show me this, not me. Just like we looked at this morning, or when we started, how you all saw time references and time patterns, you all have noticed things. And you're being shown them for a reason, to call your attention to them. And you've noticed a lot of other things too. So what I'm going to do, not everybody will notice this, I'm going to need a helper. Just help pass out some papers. Yes, you. Because I'm going to ask people to raise their hands. This won't apply to everybody. So if you got a pen, take it out now just in case it applies to you. But here's a few just in case they don't have a pen. We can have no talking. Don't talk to anybody because we don't want you to influence somebody else's memory recall. I don't want you to color their recall. So no talking, please, and I will tell you when you can talk again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a pattern. And what we're going to do is hand out, if you recognize this, well, I'm going to show you a book title. If you know that book title, don't say anything, just raise your hand. He will give you a one-question, multiple-choice test. All you have to do, circle the title that you remember that book being. I'm going to show you the cover, but I'm hiding the title. So I want you to tell me from your memory, what is this book called? What do you remember it being called? So just fill it out, hand it back to him. If you have a reason why you remember that, a particular tidbit, like, my teacher made me write this 25 times on the blackboard one day or something like that. If you have a particular reason why you remember the title being that way, just put a check in the little box at the bottom and put your name. And I'll ask it to you. We're not going to embarrass you, but I just want to hear, why do you remember it that way? There is going to be more than one answer. The book title never changed because it's based on the author's last name. I've done a lot of research on this, believe me. So, again, I'm going to show you the book title. I'm going to hide the title. But if you know what the title is, or can pick it out from a multiple list that you know for sure you can pick it out, just raise your hand and he will get it to you. Is everybody ready? What is this book series called? Just pass them out to him real quick. What is this book series called? No talking, please. We want to get straight from your memory, what is this book series called? There's going to be more than one answer. I already showed you one thing that's in your memory. So I already know what's in your memory. And I know what most of you will say. I'll tell you right now, Satan has not been able to make major changes. What the Bible talks about him wanting to do is a global permanent change during the tribulation. If you could just put them up over here. Oh, those are blanks? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. But he is testing the technology now and making small changes. We don't know the extent that he's making changes, but there are a number of things that have been changed that are showing up in people's memory. Okay. Now, if you'll stay up here just so you can see and verify that I'm not messing with this stuff myself, I'm going to sort them out. There should be two piles. Whoops. Can you unfold those, please? Yes, thank you. All right, let me see if anybody has a particular story of why this one stood out way above the others. We had one others, we had three of a particular one, and one of another. But this one, by far, I don't know how many that is, but let's hear from a few people why they believe this so. This one person wrote, children's favorite show. Okay. The Debbie T. Why do you remember this title? Excellent. And that's something that she knows from her life experience. This is the way the title is. Joanne Perry said, I have read these to my sister when she was a kid. Ruthie Grace. Okay, no particular reason? Okay. Kelly Warren. Okay, so we got two teachers who have taught this. And if anybody would know it, they have familiarity with it. Okay. Linda? Your kids? Okay, something that you showed to your kids. Judy Godwin.
I read it to my son.
Okay. Pay attention. You know, this is stuff that is in their memory. And it's very strong memory to them. Jenny Carpenter read it in reading class as a child. Linda. Do you have a particular reason?
Read it to grandchildren and they watched it on TV.
Okay. Read it to her grandchildren and read it and watched it on TV. Arlen. Grandchildren. All right. The answer that was overwhelming was, this is what I was expecting, Berenstein. B-E-R-E-N-S-T-E-I-N. Berenstein. Does that book still exist? You go to the library and look for Berenstein. It does not exist anymore. The authors, Jan and Stan Berenstein, you go to Wikipedia and look them up. That is their last name, and supposedly the book is based on their last name. Well, wait a minute. I don't remember it being that way. That's the original book that they published, Berenstein, and the modern 2002 remake that they did of it too. Okay, wait a minute. Let's go on Amazon.com. Let's do a search for books. Let's type in Berenstein Bears. It says, don't you mean Berenstain Bears? Amazon.com has no clue what you're talking about, Berenstein. But a lot of you, I've taught that to my kids. I know exactly what it's supposed to be. Let's go on eBay. Surely if anyone has old Berenstein books, eBay would have it, right? People sell it. This is interesting because when you type in Berenstein Bears, you will get a few results. About 89 results came up. But it's in the titles of what's being sold. It's what people typed in, I'm selling a Berenstein book, what they typed from their memory. But if you look at the actual merchandise, it's all Berenstain. Bizarre. Puzzles, videos, all of it has always been Berenstain. Let's go to the Library of Congress now. You know, this is research that I did. Go to the Library of Congress, go to the library catalogs, type in Berenstein Bears. Your search found no results. Nothing has ever been registered under that name. You type in Berenstain, and you get 383 publications that have been registered for that.
So was it ever EIN?
It was. Your memory can change and degrade, but we've showed that it's strong among everybody. It's a strong memory. You know, if we ask one person, then you could attribute it to, something wrong with their memory. But we got a whole stack of people here who said, it is this way. I remember it this way. I taught my kids. I know what this book, I watched a TV show. It has always been this way. Your memory is correct. But time has been changed. And we don't have time to talk about why it might be that way, but And that is the way I remember it too, growing up. So, and actually, I encourage you, check this out for yourself. You can go to the Library of Congress. You can go to the library in Columbiana. They will not have any Berenstein books because it's a test. It's a test and also like a little hand wave saying, "Hey, we can do this. Satan can't change history. He can't make big major changes because God hasn't allowed that, and that's only going to be allowed for a very short time. But he can change very small stuff that doesn't change the course of history. So they're testing the equipment. There's other ways that your memory can show other time changes. Like some of you, especially the older folk, may remember famous celebrities or people of note that you remember way back when having passed away. And you might have even heard on the news and read their obituary and heard a big deal making about so-and-so passed away. And then several years later you hear that they're alive and they're doing such and such. And you're thinking, wait a minute, I thought they were dead. Yeah. But there's a lot. I don't have a list. I can get a list of it. But there's famous people that people remember. I remember them dying in such circumstances, but then hearing about them later. What's up with this? Now, this is just a test, just research. How many have ever heard of Nelson Mandela dying in jail? Remember him dying in jail? That's where he died. See, several of you. But did you know he died 2 years ago? And all the world leaders went over there for his funeral? See, some of you remember he died in jail. They made a big deal out of it. And now, a number of years later, wait a minute, he's still alive and he just died again?
So is he really dead then?
He should be. But I could list off several others. I don't have them with me. But that's one example of time is being manipulated. I mean, it's hard for us as investigators to really find it, because the only way we could point it out is when people notice, wait a minute, something is different than the way I remember time being. Something is way wrong. Just with the Berenstain Bears. You should have seen some of the looks on your faces. You're like, no, I know it is Berenstain. And you are correct. But time has been changed. Do you know what time it is? Our attention, though, is being called, for most people, to 911. 911 is an emergency number. Do we act like we're in an emergency? Our enemy is all ready to do what he wants to do. And he's demonstrating it, and he's telling us through all halftime shows, American Idol, in Europe's major productions, major movies. He's telling the entire world, this is what I'm about to do. And he also gives subtle evidence, I can do it too. They are ready. They are ready. The number 9 has very special significance in the Bible. It's the number associated with judgment. The Day of Atonement is on the 9th day of the month. Jerusalem was broken up and the temple destroyed on the 9th of Av. Christ died at the 9th hour. Judgment, 9, is judgment. 9 is also the last number when you list out the digits, 0 through 9. 9 is judgment. We are being warned, you individually are being told, judgment is coming. And we need to, it's drawing our attention to time. We don't have the time we think we have. We need to act like we're in an emergency. Judgment is coming. Where does judgment start? At the house of God. Before the tribulation starts, before it starts for the lost, judgment starts with us. We're the ones who are going to be called up for inspection and review. Are we ready? What is in our lamp? Now, this is going to be the first thing that's going to be inspected. Are we shining for Christ like we should be? Is our lamp trimmed? Are there things we need to remove from our life? Have we cast off the works of darkness? Satan is ready. We are in an emergency. Judgment is coming. Then 11 is the number often associated with final judgment, or final opportunity. We talk about the 11th hour. We are at the 11th hour. Watch the news. We're at the 11th hour for our country and prophetically. If you get a chance, come up. I have a whole poster of laying out prophecy. We are the last generation. Since the time of Israel reborn. The people who witnessed the rebirth of Israel are already in their 70s. And the Bible tells us that some of them will witness all the way up through the end of the tribulation. We are in the last generation. We're at our last hour. 11 is also the concept of falling short. The Bible has 12 tribes, 12 disciples. And when Judas was no more, they were incomplete. It's an idea of incompletion, but also shortness of time. So when you leave tonight, I want you will see that symbol again. You will see that pattern. God will draw that to your attention. I've seen it probably about 3 times just this past week. And 1, 2, 3, 4 probably twice. You are probably going to see it again this week. And when you do, take it that God is giving you personally a warning. Be ye ready. You know, what does the Bible say? And at midnight, 12, a cry was made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. Then the virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. When we see we're at the 11th hour, we should be trimming our lamps and doing nothing else until we make sure that's done. Also with 9:11, if you turn to Revelation 9:11, it's about Apollyon coming out of the abyss. Next time you see that, stop whatever you're doing and ask God for wisdom of what He wants you to be doing in this late hour. Because He says, be ye ready. Be ye ready.